Welcome to the Laravel Collections Guide. In this series, we take a look at each of the available methods in the Laravel Collection class and dive deep through examples in explaining what it does. Today, we're going to be taking a look at last. Last, at first glance, is a very simple method. However, it has some hidden features that I think you'll really like. So in very simple terms, last returns the very last element in a collection. So as always, let's look at our first basic example. Collect. And we'll just have 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we'll call last. 4, of course, is the last item in this collection. So far, so good. However, you may not know that you can pass a callback into last. So we'll say function, element. Now in here, you need to return true or false. So it will iterate through each of the items backwards, starting with the last one. And the very first time that it returns true, that's what gets returned. The key to remember here is that it's doing it backwards. It's going to start with 4, 3, 2, and then 1. So let's say return, my element must be less than 2. So it's going to iterate through the first cycle and say, is 4 less than 2? No. Is 3 less than 2? No. Is 2 less than 2? No. Is 1 less than 2? Yes. And that is what it's going to return. And there we are. You get a 1 back. Now, another feature that you may not know about is that you can pass in null as the first argument, and as a second argument, you can actually pass in a default. So let's say 1000. So let's imagine that our collection is actually empty. Let's check out the results. There it is, 1000. Now, if I didn't have that, it would just simply return null. Now, it's not returning null because that's null. If we just called last on any empty collection, it just returns null. And sometimes that's okay. Sometimes you need a default value. So in that case, as a first argument, you pass null, and as a second argument, you pass your default value. So we'll say 1000, and there it is. Now, if there are values in here, doesn't matter how many, it will default back to its regular operation. Now the callback and the default can be used in conjunction. So let's take a look at an example with that. Let's bring back our function. And we'll say element, and then we're going to go back to return. Element must be less than 2. Let's check out the results. And sure enough, you get 1. But what if we said the element must be less than 1? Obviously, we don't have anything in here that's less than 1, so it defaults to the 1000. Now, a very important concept to understand about last is that it returns a value, not a collection. So you would not be able to daisy chain other methods after you call last. If you try to, everything will blow up. Let's try to call map, for example. There it is. It all blows up. Again, that's because it returns a value and not a collection. So keep that in mind whenever you use the last method.